Oh, good. I couldn't get it.
Yeah, maybe you had logged out of the Gmail. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it just wasn't letting me go. I don't know why. Can you just make me the host again?
Yes.
Then if you want to share it to our Facebook page, if you don't mind, the link.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, it's 6:02, so we will call this meeting to order. Get my agenda up here. Perfect. At 6 o'clock, Mike Ergo, the first selectman in attendance, Nita Kincaid, selectman, Bob Carlson, selectman. And the first item on the agenda is the solid waste ordinance change. Just for the benefit of everyone, this is something that normally would go to a town meeting. We have a number of things that we need to send to town meeting, but we basically are holding off on anything that's not essential to send to town meeting until a later date. With the governor's executive orders, it does allow the selectmen to move forward things that are necessary to move forward to conduct town business. And this is something that is necessary. And I will, Dave Aldrich from SCARA is with us, Southeastern Connecticut Resource Recovery. Will explain the solid waste ordinance change. And he did come to a meeting prior where the selectmen already discussed this and had moved it forward. But now this is the official movement to get it as an ordinance change. And so we thought Bob's idea, I think, to bring Dave back just to give kind of a recap on why this is happening, what this means. Is a really positive thing that's making this move forward. So Dave, if you want to, the floor is yours. Welcome. Thank you for taking a little bit of your time.
Well, thanks. Thanks for getting us on your agenda. I really appreciate it because this is a pretty time sensitive thing for us. So so we negotiated over the period of 2 or 3 years, a contract. We'd put an RFP out. There were really only two possible vendors, one Covanta at the current Preston plant, and then Wheeler who runs the plant in Lisbon. We went back and forth with both of them for quite a while. And at the end of the day, the contract that was offered to us by Wheeler was far superior from that which we received from Covanta. Just a brief recap of how the finances work with solid waste. We contract with the waste energy facility. They bill us. We in turn pass that through to the towns. Different towns have different ways of doing it. Some are subscription. They pass it on to the haulers. Some run their own trucks. It's a little different everywhere. But in that process, SCARA has not only attempted, but actually been successful in maintaining the lowest tip fee in the state. And we have for about 15 years. Currently, it's at $58 a ton, well below any other in the state at this point. And in the state, the solid waste system is constrained. So the tipping fees are escalating very quickly. In some places, like in Hartford, with the problems they've had at the Mirror plant, they're looking at tip fees in the 80s and possibly of $100. So the $58 is a pretty sweet deal. We pay Covanta currently $86 a ton. So we're actually picking up $28 of the expense of every ton that goes through. We do this through reserves that we put aside specifically for this purpose. Our reserves are a finite quantity. I mean, we've done very well investing money to keep them as solvent as we can, but they do have an end date, which is what prompted us to really get aggressive in negotiating this contract. What this will allow us to do, the new contract will actually bring the price down to, beginning in January, $69 a ton. So we're going to be $17 a ton less on every ton that goes in there. We start at 69. There's a 3% CPI attached to that. It's capped at 3%. So it's going to put us in a position where we're going to have probably the best rates in the state going forward, from being the worst rates in the state where we are right now. The contract is 10 years. We believe that it is going to save us in the neighborhood of $8.5 million over that period of time. And right now, it's especially important because not only do we subsidize the tip for trash, but we also are now paying for the entire tip fee for recyclables. We were very motivated to keep that as low or free to the towns as we could, so people would be motivated to recycle because it's the right thing to do, particularly environmentally. So we're paying Willimantic Waste $70 a ton now to get rid of recyclables. We're actually going to be paying them more to get rid of than we are to process trash, but it's the right thing to do. So with this new contract, it's going to allow us to absorb not only that, but continue to do the other things that we do, like our household hazardous waste collections, supporting transfer stations, all of those other things that we do, and be able to do it further. I mean, our goal, our planning horizons are 20, 25 years out. So this kind of a change will get us there. Now, in terms of the contract, Wheelabrator, in order to assure that they were going to get what trash we produced, there were two steps to that. First was an amendment to our MSA, which you've passed already. And the second was for all the towns to pass an ordinance that basically stipulates that waste that's produced within the town limits will go to the designated SCARA disposal site. So that, in a sense, is what this is about. The contract begins in January. Our hopes were to have the ordinances all completed by July 1. We're getting pretty close. You know, even with the current situation with COVID and the restrictions we've had, we've gotten really pretty close. We're down to 3 or 4 towns. So you're having me here tonight and addressing this is really important to us, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. So again, just to remind the selectmen, again, we talked about this. We kind of moved it forward already. It did go through the town attorney, and in collaboration with SCARA's attorney to make sure that it met the criteria required in order for this contract to move forward. So if the selectmen have, I'll start with do the selectmen have any questions for Dave? Any clarity? Anything additional? Yes, yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Just one quick question. So I've been asked, what is a tipping fee? And you've kind of explained it, but what would you give as a definition of a tipping fee? Like the origin of the name and what it actually means?
Okay, well, the trash and recycling both travel on trucks. When it gets to the facility, it's dumped on the floor. So it's literally the truck tips it onto the floor. And the tipping fee refers to the amount of product, whether it's recyclables or it's trash, that's tipped onto the floor.
Mhm.
Trucks are all weighed going in and weighed going out. Most of our trucks are repetitive, so they already know the tare weights. They only have to weigh them once. But that differential is what establishes the per ton rate for disposing or recycling a product.
Thank you.
Nita, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, on this particular agenda item, because it is an ordinance change, I did add agenda item number 2, public comment specifically on the solid waste ordinance change. If the public has any, for those who might be calling in, it would be *6 to unmute, and I will allow anyone to unmute if they had a question or comment on the ordinance change. Again, it's *6 if you have something specific on the solid waste ordinance change. Now would be the time to ask the question or make the comment. Okay, hearing none. We'll go ahead and bring that to a vote. So with regards to the North Stonington solid waste ordinance change, entertain a motion to approve the ordinance change as advertised and as received by the selectmen here.
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 3-0-0. And Dave, thank you for being here for that part.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for having me first. I appreciate it.
Thank
You're
you, Dave.
welcome. Thanks for
Take good
coming
care.
back again.
Thank you.
Okay,
All
bye-bye.
right, have a good one. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3, the 163 Winterchog Hill Road update. I just want to make sure, as we all know in town, when there's things happening or movement or anything, you know, people notice. So I just want to make sure I'm keeping the selectmen involved in this conversation. This is the where we've discussed the animal shelter. We had, the three of us decided that we thought it was a good idea to kind of continue to maybe do a little bit of work there if in order to kind of facilitate looking into this. There is, you know, the potential of this 501c3 that's hopefully getting formed by a group outside of the town to help facilitate fundraising for the construction. But I think we're trying to make sure that the property is an ideal location. So just to keep you posted, the highway crew did go up and do some clearing up there, kind of get it so we can get in there a little bit better. I did go out there with an engineer, and we are getting some wetlands delineation and topography done out there to kind of make sure what we have. I think the initial thought when we saw the property and had an idea of the potential for it, I think the idea was maybe the barn would be a potential site for this. I think upon further review, it's a little wetter down there, and I think probably reutilizing the barn foundation is not probably going to be all that helpful to us. So the likelihood, and we'll know more once we get the topography and the wetlands delineation back, but probably more likely it would be a spot up where the house is probably where we would probably have the building. But more to come on that. I just wanted to make sure you know, I continue to keep you guys up to speed on how that's going. So nothing else to report right now except that some clearing has been done up there in case you hear anything about that. That's it.
Mike, I have not, I've been in that area, but I have not been in either of those buildings. And I assume that you have been in both of the buildings. Is that true?
So I've been in the barn and I've seen pictures of the inside of the house. I have not gone in it. It's in pretty rough shape. Donnie's been in there recently. We did Donnie, the highway foreman.
I know that.
I'm saying it for anybody else who doesn't know it. I know you know it. But you know, just to identify which way the septic was pointing and the water coming in, just because we want to get a lay of the land there. So
if it turns out to be the site, would you assume that you would take both of those buildings down?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be the next item for discussion once we get some of the reporting back.
Right.
Any questions? That was really just an update there, Bob. No.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Number 4, COVID-19 updates. So, I mean, the big update since we last met is the reopening of Connecticut in phase 1. And I'm very happy to report Juliet's done a really good job along with the building official and Ledge Light to try to work with the businesses very closely to try to have a safe and seamless opening, because obviously this is pretty uncharted territory and there are still things that we have to try to follow and to keep everybody safe and comply with whatever rules there are. Juliet's done a really good job, got some accolades from some of the businesses who are quite pleased with what, you know, the work, the time that she put into trying to help them out. And I know, you know, one of the businesses, we even went so far as to bring in some barriers down in town. If you've been downtown, I'm sure you both already have. You've seen we've sectioned off a little part of the road there, so the Village Cafe could have some outside seating. So really just trying to work with the businesses and keep everybody safe at the same time. The only thing I'd add with regards to this is that, you know, you know, and like I said, I'd say it every time. I'm on a lot of calls. I got a call tomorrow morning, always Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening. And there's a midday call as well with just different groups throughout town. And this isn't going, the virus isn't going away. It's really recommended for everybody to, obviously where it's required to have masks, you know, that's obviously, but I think we just need to continue to preach the facts here as it relates to this, because it really could mean the difference of life or death with people. I mean, this, you know, the possibility, hopefully the weather clears and this starts to fade away. That's not what the data is showing. You know, there's definitely a concern with things reopening and people being a little more cavalier without having the masks and stuff like that, you know, there's a chance that this could spread a little bit more. And we've done really well in North Stonington. I mean, it's not been perfect. Not that it would be anywhere, but I really will hope we can kind of keep that going. So actually, I'll probably plan to have another drop in with Steve Mansfield soon to kind of talk a little bit more about especially the mask thing. Just want to make sure people are taking it seriously and doing what they can to protect themselves and their families as we continue to go through this. But you know, phase one, again, North Stonington, I think went really well with the reopening. And you know, I think that's really all there is really to update a report that I can think of at this time. If the selectmen have any questions. Yes, Nina, do you have a question or you have a fly there?
I have a fly, but I also have a question. Yes, thank you. I believe the letter that we received had the Baptist Church taking their first openness of the church, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before. Am I correct?
Actually, I think it would have been this past Sunday. I think it was after the orders were in place for them to be able to do that. So
did they do it? Do you know?
I didn't hear back from them, but they did send along as a courtesy to let us know, which I thought was really nice.
Yes.
I did forward that to the Legislate Health District just to make sure that if they had any recommendations to offer, and they got back to me and said, you know, everything that sounds like they're doing is appropriate. Okay. So, I mean, you know, that's all we can ask, you know, right now is you know, people should have the ability in regards to the laws to do what they want to do. I just want to, as I think we all should as the selectmen, just to ask people to just keep themselves and their families safe as they can, you know, really take the protocol seriously. You know, I want to get through this with as least effect as possible from a health perspective. So
are we still at 11?
What's that?
Are we still at 11 or has it increased at all?
I didn't see any rise in that, I don't think.
Okay,
I'll pull it up while we're on the phone though.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, do you have any questions?
No.
No?
No, I think overall you're doing a good job and
Yes.
staying in touch with the state government and the local senators and representatives. So I think that's all you can do. That's all we can do. So far, so good. Of the 10 or 11, I'm confused because sometimes it says 10, sometimes it says 11. Of those people, are most of those people now cured? And because I know we keep track from the very first one that was 2 months ago to now, but they're not all still sick, correct? That changes.
Right. So bear with me 1 second. I'm just pulling up Friday's report. In North Stonington, we've got 11 cases, 9 female, 2 male, ages 30 to 72, 1 fatality as I mentioned in last week, really sad. We had our first fatality and health worker at that. A lot of people are getting better. Hang on, let me pull this other report up real quick while I got you on the phone. Let me know. Got this in front of me here. I think it says a little bit more. No, it doesn't. Yeah, what I will say is that we're seeing less hospitalizations right now. Like that's kind of declining. But that's because of what we've done. Like the stay-at-home orders really helped that to kind of go downward. The concern is that, you know, with the increase with people going out and, you know, that we're going to see a rise. I mean, I think that is going to happen. I mean, that's what I talk to health people. They think the same thing. So that's why I'm just urging everyone to just take precautions. Like if you go out, put the mask on. I mean, you don't want to, there's no reason to take any chances with this. But I mean, we've done well in North Stonington. Hopefully, we'll continue to do well here. We have a lot of people that work, in EB, and they, obviously Foxwoods is going to be reopening. So we have people from there, and they're going to go back to work. And I think one of the things I noticed, and I talked to Steve Mansfield yesterday, the director of Legislate, and he noticed the same thing. A lot of people aren't really wearing the mask. You see the workers wearing the masks. And he said he really thought it was maybe less than 50% of people were putting them on. It's concerning. It's really concerning. All we can do is just tell people, just take it seriously. And I'll just keep trying to preach that, certainly not trying to force anything on anyone, but we just don't want to see fatalities. We don't want to see people get sick. So that's all we can do is just try to preach it.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else on that, discussion about the virtual budget hearing. So happily, the Board of Finance did move the budget hearing forward. That will take place next Monday at 6 p.m. virtually. I'll just mention, I kind of said it at the top of the call. We did do an upgrade to our Zoom account, so that way we can have a little bit of a more a better process if we have a mass of people attend a meeting. So it will be actually really, we kind of tested the functionality of it today. Great job to Christine and Jim, kind of taking a look at that. And so it will be something where people can, they'll be able to call in like normal, or they'll be able to join via Zoom. We'll have panelists, which is be myself, Christine, and Dan, probably at minimum. And then people will be able to, on the computer, raise their hand if they have a question once we get into that. We have the ability to do polls on there. If we wanted to poll people, if we wanted to ask their opinions, we actually can do that. So I'll be talking to Dan Spring about how he might want to utilize that functionality. And we think it'll go pretty well. We're pretty excited about it. We can have a lot more people on there and kind of manage it a little bit easier from a management perspective of managing a virtual hearing. So as far as the content, I think, it'll be, we've kind of talked a lot about the budget. We've gone back and forth a bunch of times. I mean, my plan would be to certainly talk about any of the major things that are changes in there, also talk about some things that aren't in there. So, just want to open it up for discussion with the selectmen to make sure if there's anything specific you guys want to get to, that we incorporate it in the hearing. Go ahead, Nita.
Okay. The budget looks great. It's put together very nicely on the way it's been put together here. But the question is, since we had to make a few of those changes last week, have you been able to let those specific people know this yet?
I did not let those specific people know this yet. We didn't make those changes, the Board of Finance did, but yes, to your point, they should be notified and will be notified. I'll make a note of that tomorrow.
And I think it's fair enough that you should say exactly what you just said too. It was asked to be done by the Board of Finance rather than us making those decisions. I think that's a good thought also. And I guess the other part is, are we going to right from the beginning, or I know we could talk to Dan about this, you could talk to Dan about this right from the beginning, explain that we are going to do these budgets in the same way we did last year in terms of them being not just one vote. Remember?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, okay. I
yes.
think that's important to clarify whose is what.
That's a very good point. Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we should do that in the presentation. So we'll make a note of that to make sure people are aware that we heard that feedback and are making that change.
Because I think we have people in the different groups who may decide that they want to speak up at this, and they need to know which group they're supposed to be speaking to. And then we, and we do have the firehouse that is interested in speaking, I know, and we certainly obviously, and they're part of our group, correct? Okay. And then we have the school. And what else do we have? Is it just that? We're just really,
Yep.
have we changed anything else? I'm just thinking of what we changed. I know last year we did it this way too, but
Yeah, we
Okay.
kind of looking at bigger fluctuations, like I think it came up a number of times, the IT coordinator, how we took money and reallocated it. So I think just kind of bringing that stuff out right in the very beginning. So we've got a few things like that,
Yeah.
just to highlight
exactly.
and just say, okay, this
Exactly.
is why. So
And
absolutely.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and I'm assuming that I'm assuming, but it could be very wrong, that we would do one and get questions and answers, and then do the other one and get questions and answers at this.
So I don't think we've talked about that, but that's part of the reason this is on the agenda. Well, first of all, it's Dan's hearing. I mean, not Dan, but the Board of Finance's hearing. So, I mean, I certainly can give him advice on which way to do it. The only good thing about doing both presentations is that we can kind of bang them out and then just hear all, have all the questions. I think that the fear I would have about doing one, hearing a bunch of questions, and then doing the other is that if for some reason the Q&A goes on for so long on the first one, then people are really kind of like spent on the second one and they just kind of log off. I kind of feel like you're better off just doing both presentations. I mean, I don't think either of them will be very long, but that would be my opinion. But maybe Bob, I don't know if you have a thought on that.
I agree with you, Mike. I think let's do them both and then get all the questions in one shot. Because you're not knowing who Dan will put first, but if you put the Board of Ed first, we may not be going on until 10 o'clock at night. If there's enough questions to keep that going, we're going to lose audience. So I would put both out there, and then let the audience see them both, and then those who want to ask questions can ask questions. Is this meeting starting at 6 or 7? By the way?
It's starting at 6. I mean, last time, I know each time we've done this, I've talked to Christine Wagner in advance, and I think we both basically said, 10 minutes or less as far as a presentation, maybe 15 minutes if we needed it. I'm sure Dan will probably take 5 or 10 minutes himself. So, I mean, if we keep the presentations to a half hour or less, that gives plenty of time for Q&A for people.
6:30.
Do you believe, I'm sorry, do you believe that the presentations are going to have pictures and stuff like that?
There'll be, I mean, I know we'll put a PowerPoint together.
That's what I'm asking, yeah, okay.
Yep, Christine and I have already been working on that.
Okay.
So yes, there'll be, yes, as far as like photographs, I'm not really sure. This is, if you remember what we did last year and what we're doing this year are different. Well, first of all, this is the hearing, not the meeting.
I know.
But in the meeting last year, we tried to do this, we did the strategic plan, we had other stuff. And this year I did the state of the town in February in an effort to talk about all that stuff earlier so we could really focus on the budget.
Right.
Which I'm pretty glad about right now, considering the situation we're in.
But I would think that the Board of Education has much more to show. They've got the school now done, et cetera. That's the only reason I was thinking of pictures at all, really.
Yeah. I'm not really sure exactly, but I'll be talking to Christine, and these are good. This is really good feedback. Thank you for this. What else? Anything else?
Not for me.
I'm all set.
I just have one thing. If anyone is talking to residents about the hearing and people are on the fence as to whether they're just going to call in on their phone or if they're going to use their computer or smartphone, just express to them that it'll be much better for them. They'll get a better picture of what's going on if they watch it through their computer, because they'll be able to see what the visuals are. If we do polls, they'll be able to participate in the polls, and they don't have that functionality on the phone. So it is highly accessible via phone, but we're encouraging people to use their computers or smartphones if they have that technology.
Mike, do we have any other idea? I said I was done, and I apologize about this, but to reach the people who don't usually use our website, or, you know, basically some of the older people who are unable to get this information this way and don't do, you know, today's kind of computer and everything. Any ideas on that?
I mean, we did put an ad in the paper, a legal ad. So, you know, hopefully those folks that choose not to subscribe to news and announcements or pay attention to social media, at least read the paper. You know, I think it's one of those things that we always struggle with. It's like, you know, I think if people want to be informed, hopefully they will be informed. I think there's a lot of people who choose not to, and that's their choice. But we're doing our best to get it out there. I think even having the budget copies available. I'm open to other ideas if there are any. I don't have anything else to think of versus what we kind of have already been doing.
The only one thing that comes into my mind just after tracing this every day, the virus thing, is if some of these people have children or grandchildren, it would be kind of good if maybe, you know, they could get with somebody and still be okay, you know, at a distance. I don't know. Because I've seen a lot of that going on TV of people helping one another and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing about the technology we're using is that most everyone has a phone. So, I mean, you're really a part of it by just calling in. I think it's nicer to get on the computer, like Christine said, if you're comfortable, but if you're not, it's totally fine. You just call in, you know, and you're going to hear everything. You know, I'm feeling very optimistic. I feel like based on the hearings we've had over the last few years, I mean, I feel like we have the potential to have one of the larger hearings we've had. So I think it's going to be a success because people will be able to get on here, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to number 6. We do have one appointment, and this is for the Juvenile Review Board. We've got a support letter of recommendations for the reappointment of Cheryl Beekert for a 1-year term and Wayne Coates for a 3-year term. Cheryl being the alternate member at large, Wayne being the member at large, submitted by Joe Gross. And having attended meetings of theirs, they're a great group. We're lucky to have a group like this. And any questions on these appointments?
No.
I'd entertain a motion to appoint Cheryl and Wayne as indicated in the letter we received from Chairman Gross.
Yeah. I approve that. Go ahead.
I second.
The discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, we've got minutes, I think. We have one set of minutes.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes of the Zoom meeting on May 12, 2020 as submitted by Christine.
And I'll second it because I think they were very well done minutes and everything's true.
Thank you.
It's always the best kind of minutes.
Yes, they're very good. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0-0. With that, we have public comment. So again, to reiterate on the, if you're calling in as a member of the public, you just have to hit *6 to unmute yourself if you did have a comment. If you're on the computer, you just hit the unmute button, and I do see Brian, and I believe that's Brian Rathman, unmuted. Brian, what's your comment?
Okay. I got here late, so I missed out on the first part of the meeting, and I was wondering if is this going to be? Can I pick this up like after the meeting? I mean, once the meeting's over, is it recorded so I can watch it?
Yes, yep, the meeting is recorded and it's on the town's YouTube. I think we shared a copy of the link to the Facebook page, so you can certainly take a look there. And if you have any questions after you've watched the beginning part, certainly feel free to reach out.
Okay, and my other question would be, can I get a hard copy of the budget?
You sure can. We have hard copies available at Town Hall right now.
Okay, can I go to the town hall? I mean, I gotta wear a mask, of course, but can you go in or no, or do you just call, or how do I reach through the door?
Yeah, if you just call, go ahead, Christine.
There's copies available in the town clerk's office. So if you call Antoinette and let her know you're coming, she can give you one at the door.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Any other public comments? Okay. Hearing no other public comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
There's a motion from Nita, second from Bob. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, adjourned at 6:38. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, see you at the hearing anyway.
See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow night, too.